What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Jokatech podcast. Detractors, haters, I know you didn't expect this. Too bad. Now, on a serious note, I'm going to discuss, once again, two topics. And the reason why I discuss two topics each of these podcasts most often is due to the fact that I like to get in depth with my topics. I like to really elaborate on them and really break them down from different angles at times. You know, better than running down a list of different objectives and different current events. You know, I'm not here to give a list. I'm here more to break things down philosophically. Now, the two topics that I want to discuss that usually I want to discuss topics that get me burning up. In particular, they would be specifically the finals, the women's finals to be exact. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. The U.S. Open between Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka. Nothing against anybody, well, there is something against somebody, but I'll get into that later. And the other thing I wanted to discuss was Amir Khan versus Kell Brook, which I'm sure might be a little bit of a shocker given all of the other super matches that are afoot, but that just intrigues me just from a standpoint of certain boxers and their take on it. But first I want to get to the U.S. Open because this just has me burning up. Right now it's in the news. You know, everybody knows Serena is now being labeled as this absolute dissident, this degenerate, this feminist, fascist, whatever you want to call her. She is being absolutely denigrated in the public eye for her actions at the U.S. Open. Now, I took a little bit of offense at what I heard Stephen A. Smith say. And the reason why is because it's the principle behind it. Now, don't get me wrong. I saw the events on play. I watched the match myself. And I don't totally disagree with Stephen A. Smith. Now, I blasted him on Twitter. I'm sure he didn't bother even responding to my comment, but he probably saw it this afternoon when I saw him post, I'm going to be the one to say that she's wrong. Because he's focusing on the wrong thing. Now, he's an intelligent guy, and I've always respected Stephen A., but he's making the same mistake that many are making. And Max Kellerman checked him too, but he didn't check him like I'm going to check him right now. See, I'm not saying Serena was 100% right. And I'm not even saying that she wasn't acting a little spoiled and entitled to a certain extent and she didn't have a bit of a meltdown. She did melt down to a degree. But that's not the focal point of the match. First off, I want to point out that Serena always tends to break down in some of her biggest matches. And she comes back and dominates and wins. The argument being made is that she was making statements towards the referee that he's a chauvinist and that he's... Now, we heard her say he's a thief. He stole a point from her. And we heard her say, every time I come to the U.S. Open, I have this problem with you. And then she did say something along the lines of, you're not refereeing my matches anymore. All of those are valid comments because he came at her before that. He accused her of coaching, and the point has been established, and even those who are against Serena agreed to the point that the coaching accusation was off base. All tennis coaches make gestures from the box, and all players randomly look up to the box. It happens in every tennis match. It is clear as day he decided to point out Serena on that particular occasion. Now, I'm not totally convinced that the fix wasn't in. Because for him to zone in on that match when it was a record-breaking match is very, very peculiar. But every coach does it, and every player throws tantrums. I've never been a huge fan of Serena's tantrums. And I never justified them because, to be honest with you, I think they hurt her game. And they stall and they completely aggravate the match, to be totally honest. So I'm not here to defend her tantrums. I'm saying, number one, I do agree that she has the right to display emotion, as many players, including those in the days of John McEnroe, who's my favorite player of all time, they display these emotions. And I'm sick and tired of people saying, well, the tolerance level is lower now. I don't want to hear about tolerance level. I'm tired of hearing about this snowflake generation that doesn't want to be doesn't want to be ruffled up. Look, she displayed some emotion. She broke a tennis racket. If you want to penalize her, that's one thing. But my problem is, I don't understand why there is not a big outrage over what the referee did. In fact, he's being defended. Like he's saving the sport from Serena. Just think about what he did. And I'm also going to make another argument that I made earlier about the structure of the women's tournaments in general. It's best out of 3. It's number 1. But just think about it. She's playing a match. The issue started in the first set, where there was a time where she was on return, and he made some odd calls with the placement of the ball. And I remember her aggravation started early in the match around that point. Because if you recall, the first set was 6-2 for Osaka. Not to overshadow Osaka and her great play. Osaka was deadly coming into the match. I picked her to give Serena problems because she has a way of stretching out longer players. Players that are taller than her, she exploits that. And she's able to explode into shots, and she has a killer serve. Not taking that away from Osaka. But even though Serena was having trouble dealing with her, if you knew what you were looking at, you saw Serena starting to unravel Osaka, and she started to figure her out. And I'll just play the match out just to remind you. The first set was 6-2. Go back and recall. Do you remember how many games Serena was on the verge of winning? And there will be several points that the referee, he would either call some type of odd placement, or he would call some fault. In some sense, and Osaka would win the game. The first set was not a 6-2 set, but we'll acquiesce to that. Osaka won 6-2. There were very suspect games in that set. In all honesty, it was not a clean 6-2 set. It wasn't as dominant as it sounds. But that's where the aggravation started. Then we go to set 2. Let's recall, after Osaka was still storming forward and had Serena on her heels, Serena started to break Osaka down. She started to return better, and she started to hold serve better. And just when Osaka was starting to steamroll ahead, remember how the game halted and Serena stormed back and it was tied 3-3? See, we're all forgetting about that. And the whole match was turning. We're all trying to gloss over that like that didn't happen. The entire match was turning. You could feel it. You saw it before your eyes. Somebody was a rookie player and they're storming forward. And then all of a sudden the veteran figures them out like veterans do. And she goes from down to tying it 3-3. Then that's when the accusations and the foul started. And after his accusation, then he docks her a point. So now Osaka's on serve and she's up 15-love. Now think about it. Osaka already has a tough surface game to figure out. So Serena was at a deficit she could not afford. So they play that game out, and obviously Osaka has the advantage, so she wins that game, goes up 4-3. Then after that, let's remember the women's tournaments, the women's matches period are 2 out of 3. Now she's up 4-3. Serena's still angry about the earlier penalty that really cost her, because now that literally just cost her a game. So you can't blame her for being emotional at this point. And now she's also cumulatively thinking about all the things that went on in the first set. And she's not only thinking about that, she's thinking about all the things that are going on in tournament after tournament with this particular referee. You got to put yourself in that perspective. So now all that's building up, and now she's seeing herself down 4-3. This chick only has to hold serve and win a game, and she's going to win the tournament. So now Serena's thinking about, wow, I'm backed in the corner, and none of this should be the case. So then she goes and she's asking for an apology. I remember she went back to him more than once, trying to explain, why did you do that? That was not right to do that. And he continued to antagonize her. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the way that he was continuing to be obstinate from the bench while she's reasoning with him and explaining to him what's going on. And then while she's doing that, who's not going to be aggravated already? You've already affected me in many tournaments, and now you've made severe effects on me through false accusations and obstinance in this tournament. And now I'm down 4-3 in what could be the last set. And as I'm trying to reason with you, you're being even more obstinate. Anybody, let's not put it all on Serena. Anybody with a pulse in their freaking body is going to start to get heated at that point. And I'm not saying you're going to react exactly how she did, but the chances are high you're going to throw some type of a tantrum. And I can assure you, a player like McEnroe, my favorite player Djokovic, many other players that are hot-headed and erotic in his time, many of those players would have probably thrown a tantrum at that point. They probably would have thrown their racket. And he knows that. And at that particular point, at such a pivotal point in a match, in a tournament, you're then going to heap on another penalty for harassment and dock her a game. Now putting Osaka up 5-3. Remember, there's 2 out of 3. Now Osaka, all she has to do is win one game. And just to give you a key in on the whole thing, as that whole thing played out, she brought in her management team, and they started petitioning to. They started petitioning to the Lions coach. Can you please rescind what you're doing? Is there any way we can work this out? He slams his gavel down. I had no idea that they were the judge. That's one of my problems. Why in the world, in a major tournament, in any sport, would you allow some referee to override a committee that's petitioning on behalf of a player? I've never seen that in a sport before. We've seen referees mess games up. Basketball games, boxing matches, by not calling things or by doing things wrong. We've seen that. I've never seen a referee. I never knew tennis referees had that kind of power. That you can be getting checked by a player in their committee and still say, I don't care. This is what it's going to be. And nobody's there to check him. There's no committee there that can say, wait a second, you're a little reckless right now. You're making this personal. We're going to pull you out and we're going to review all of this right now. None of that. He's just allowed to slam the gavel down and dictate the match. I lost a lot of respect for it. See, the thing is, it's not all about Serena. What Stephen A. Smith is missing, and Max Kellerman touched on it, you're missing the whole point of the fact that the referee robbed the integrity of the game. No one's focusing on that. That drops the amount of respect that you have for the game of tennis when a referee can do something like that. It didn't have to be Serena. It could be anybody he could have did that to if he didn't like him. And there's nobody there to check him. And just to make my point further, after he does all of that, Serena, to her credit, composes herself. She's very visibly upset. She goes back to her corner. She resets, and she wins the next game. And if I'm not mistaken, she won that on return. She won the next game to make it 5-4. Before then, I think after that it was over. The next game she lost. I think she may have been on serve. But she won the next game. Even under all that chaos, she won the next game. She had Osaka on her heels. If you really think about it, Osaka only really had to win one honest game to win the tournament. Of course she's that good. Just think about it. It's a close match. Nobody's saying that you're not good. Me and you are playing, or we're in a contest. We're in some type of a physical contest. You're a high caliber athlete, but I'm the veteran with more talent. And we're going at it. And it looks like the upset's coming, but then I dig deep and I do what I've done in many matches. If you watch Serena's whole career, she's always done that. She's always pulled out a 3-setter when she's facing somebody who's a new style to her, somebody who poses a different challenge. She will probably lose the first set, and she'll have a hard-fought second set where she has you on the edge of your seat, and then she starts to figure her opponent out. This was classic Serena. I've seen her in matches recently, not too long ago, where she's been down worse than that, where it's been like 4-2. And she figures her opponent out and comes back and wins the second set, and then goes into the third set and she dominates. She was going to do that to Naomi Osaka. It's nothing against Osaka. I'm not saying Osaka couldn't have won the match. I knew what I was looking at eye test wise. I know as a player, I'm watching a referee literally change the outcome of the game. You can't say he didn't do that. He changed the outcome of the game. She was beginning to storm back. She had Osaka on her heels. Osaka had no answer for anything that Serena had before that drama started. And even after it, Serena wins the next game. With all that help, all Osaka had to do was hold serve and win one game, and she won the freaking tournament. Like, you can't tell me that you look at that and that doesn't look suspect. It did not look. She did. Everybody's talking about she was doing well. They're going off the 6-2 first set that was suspect. She won the match 6-2, 6-4. If you know what you're looking at, you're not just a blockheaded layman tennis fan, and you actually understand the sport and the technique behind it. You could see Osaka was running out of answers. She had a great serve and she's physical. But a flustered Serena definitely helped her out, along with awarded points and games. Come on. No one's saying she's a bad player. Of course she's that good. Of course she's going to be able to hold. If you sit there and you give a mediocre, average player, anybody that's a ranked player, you give them those benefits, they're going to have a chance against Serena. Let's stop acting like Serena wasn't storming back. And the referee, nobody's chastising him. Nobody's calling for him to be investigated. Everybody's just championing him because they're going off of, oh, Serena threw a tantrum. That's a childish and blockheaded way to view things. Serena could have handled things differently, and yes, she does tend to melt down at times, but you cannot tell me that referee does not deserve some type of chastisement. That's the problem that I have, and that's what Stephen A. and a lot of people are missing. And my proposal is, I honestly feel like this should really alter things as far as the match setups and the tournament setups. I've always felt that the best out of 3 format, it doesn't fit for a championship setting. It's too risky. How many times do players take a set or two to find their rhythm, or a set and change to find their rhythm? I understand the women's format is 3 sets. I really think that championship matches should be 5. Championship matches should be 5. It should definitely be more than 2 out of 3. Because it's too easy for something like this to happen. So, it is what it is. Very, very, very sad. I think they should really, really think about changing that format, because I believe that it could prevent issues like this happening in the future. And I think overall it would just be better. There's too many female players that when they're playing in these major tournaments, either they're shell-shocked or they're rusty. Well, not rusty, but either they're shell-shocked or they're not really quite oiled up and warmed up. And you get into these situations where they drop the first set and then they're on their heels, and the second set might be a nail-biter. But it's too late. They lost the tournament.
Now for a break.
At an angle, redirect the momentum. A style is like a part of you, in control of the spectrum. You've been overpowered and controlled when you were too close under the vector or too far to explode. Listen, the framework of this is interception. No debates when the mind state is educated, misdirection and expression. Put your whole hips behind it, because a little hesitation, the danger could find it. There's 3 forms. Passive, ready, and go. Never separate the flow, or you become your own victim. In the end, it's all we ever are. When I learn to step the right way, I could walk on a star. The life of a slave is more than circles and bars, I guess. I hold the sword the way I hold the pen. It's love fist, a scientific way to write a loving end, like a letter to a friend. Closed fist, or open palm, revealing the healing of a name. Pulling aggression and blast, poison flow, a counter with precise aim. The art I live it, waiting like a star, running back for the gap to hit it. This is life, different tears of danger over tears of regret, for different fears of a stranger. Reform and freedom at last, a black dream. The past ever revolves, or so that seems, you dig? This is on to the second topic I was going to discuss, and this is, like I mentioned before, the matchup between, well, not matchup, prospective matchup between Amir Khan and Kell Brook. Now, this has been brewing for a while, and I don't really care too much about this fight. The reason why I'm discussing it, though, is because I find it very intriguing listening to boxers and their take on it. Like, I was listening to Johnny Nelson, who apparently he's a stablemate, well, not stablemate, but he's a good friend of Kell Brook's. And so he's giving an interview, and the interviewer, Kugan Cassius to be exact, is asking him why is he not backing Kell in that matchup, but rather picking Amir Khan. And I noticed that he seems to get caught up in his speed. And it seems like people are a little off with how good or bad Amir Khan looks. When Amir Khan is sharp, people think he's chinny. Then when he's getting hit too much, people think he's sharp. Now, this last fight he had this past weekend against Sammy Vargas, this was a good one for Amir Khan, because in all honesty, Samuel Vargas is one of those fights that top level boxers, you don't pick guys like that. Even when Deontay Wilder fought Luis Ortiz, it wasn't like this. Sammy Vargas has all of the dangerous skills of a world champion and nowhere near the name. Extremely dangerous fight with no upside to beating him. I don't know why Amir took that fight, but it shows a lot of heart that he did. Now, he was dropped in that fight early on. And the thing is, comes right back to what Virgil Hunter was saying. Everyone talks about Chinny. The minute that he got knocked down and rolled on his back and popped up the same way he's done his whole career, well, not his whole career, there's some times where he's been visibly hurt. In the Maidana fight, and of course when he fought Brady Prescott. Aside from those fights, even when Danny Garcia dropped him, well, when Canelo dropped him, he was hurt too. But when Danny Garcia dropped him, or when he was one of the many other fights where he's been rocked, he doesn't visibly get hurt. It's not his chin so much. He's unsteady. He has unsteady legs. And he has poor balance at times and allows himself to be open to get knocked down. If he's chinny, he's a guy that is easy to TKO and knock out. Have you ever noticed? Amir Khan has been at the wrong end of many stoppages. Not many, but he's been at the wrong end of a few stoppages in his career. He doesn't have many losses. But often when he gets hit, he comes back and fights better. That's not the look of somebody who's chinny. Somebody who's chinny is somebody who goes out all the time. Every time they get caught, they either get TKO'd or knocked out. People misinterpret that definition. He's not chinny. Now, he got knocked down early in that fight, and the first thing the commentators say, oh, there goes his chin again. He popped back up and really, in most estimations, won the rest of that round. That's not a chinny guy. Now, the criticism that I fling at him is, everyone's talking about how good he looks. And boxers like Johnny Nelson are sitting there saying that I see him beating Danny Garcia. I don't see that. The way Danny Garcia looked against Sean Porter, first off, I believe he won that fight. And I've never been one to defend Danny Garcia and his dad and their complaints and accusations. But it seems like whenever you listen to what the masses are saying, it's always the stupid, wrong thing. I'm noticing that consistency. Every other time, Danny Garcia, he either doesn't look impressive or it's a suspect decision or whatever the case may be. And he's getting credit. Then in this fight, where he actually fought well. Now, there's some times where he wasn't busy enough, which is most of the fight. That's not his style. But he started attacking the body a lot better. He was defending Sean Porter's headhunting very well, especially down the stretch. Sean Porter never landed anything clean the whole fight. He looked wild and crazy the whole fight. Now, Danny wasn't moving enough to throw Sean into the ropes. He was letting Sean walk into him, but Sean wasn't having any effective success at all. But everyone thinks he won the fight. I'm sitting there, is anybody watching this dude get like teed off on the face? But to see Amir Khan beating him, you're caught up in the hand speed. You're caught up in how he looked in his last couple fights. When he fought LaGreca, whatever the dude's name is, the dude's a clown. A clown. A cab driver. Amir Khan's always got fast hands. Phil Greco, like you're going to measure him off of that fight? And then in this fight with Sammy Vargas is nowhere near the upper echelon when it comes to speed. He's dangerous and he's a high-class, dangerous fight. He's not that fast. Look how much he was touching Amir Khan throughout the fight. Throughout the fight, catching him with lead right hands and hooks. Throughout the whole fight. You honestly think that he's going to be able to take it to some of these dudes at 147 fighting like that? Errol Spence would murder him in the ring. Danny Garcia would murder him probably the same way. He does not look good ever since he's been with this dude Goosen. I've never been a fan of Goosen in his gym. He gets all this credit for being this great trainer with his big, cartoon-looking chin. He doesn't teach the art the way Virgil. When look at Amir Khan when he was with Virgil Hunter. Yeah, he lost to Canelo by knockout, but look how he boxed perfectly until that happened. He literally was boxing perfect defense. Most fighters can never achieve perfection in execution in the ring. This dude did it for 5, almost 6 rounds because he was under Virgil Hunter's tutelage. The minute he goes with this dude Goosen, yeah, he puts his hands together, he throws combinations, but he throws them with poor balance and he's open most of the time. Look how much he's getting hit now. Yeah, you're going to survive Sammy Vargas and Phil Greco. You're not going to survive Sean Porter and Danny Garcia and Errol Spence. Or even a banged up Keith Thurman. You're not going to survive those dudes. They're going to knock you out. But they get caught up in his hand speed. He would beat Pacquiao. Honestly, you really think this dude would beat Pacquiao? Everybody's critical of Pacquiao's performance against the Argentine. I'm forgetting his name now. But in his last fight, they're critical of this dude. I'm like, dude, are you serious? He looked good. He had a dangerous opponent in front of him that still packs a punch, and he knocked dude out. His hands looked faster than ever. His defense looked actually better than it's looked in recent times. And you honestly think Amir Khan would beat him just because of Amir Khan's hand speed? You think Amir Khan's hand speed is going to bother Pacquiao? And you think Pacquiao's chin is going to stand up to the sneaky right hooks that come from Pacquiao? Are you serious? Like, come on, dude. And this is coming from a guy who's a former world champion. Johnny Nelson is arguably the greatest cruiserweight of all time. And he's talking nonsense like that. You get caught up in one little thing. Hand speed is nice. Amir Khan is not putting it together like he was when he was with Virgil Hunter. It's that simple. If he gets hit like that in his next fight and he steps up competition, he's finished. That's facts. And on that note, Tyson Fury needs to be responsible on defense. He needs to be responsible on defense when he faces up against Deontay Wilder, because Deontay's always improving his game. He's always adding new wrinkles. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. I do believe Tyson Fury's the dude that can beat him. But he's going to have to be on his A game. And Sean Porter, yeah, he beat Danny Garcia according to the judges. He did not look that good in that fight. I'm sitting there, he was trying different looks. He was trying to be cute, and I admired that early in the fight. But that's cute early in the fight. Then as the fight went on and the middle round started coming on, I'm expecting his accuracy to improve, and I'm expecting him to have better shot selection. And at least do what you did in the Berto fight. Now, in the Berto fight, that's Sean Porter doing what Sean Porter does best. He was going forward, and he was digging those beautiful hooks to the body and weaving beautifully. That's Sean Porter. He doesn't have a great jab. He doesn't know how to land the right hand to save his life. All he can do is throw those hooks and come over the top with an overhand right every now and again. That's what he does. And he stops you with attrition. He hardly did that in this fight. He's rushing forward. Every shot's missing. He's getting countered like crazy. He's just fortunate that he had the chin to stand up. Because honestly, that's one thing about Sean Porter that he doesn't get credit for. He has a can-knucklehead type build, and he has a very good chin. He has a better chin than he realizes. Because he takes some shots that really, really should be putting him out. And he doesn't even realize he took them. And he just keeps coming forward. Danny Garcia was hitting him with some shots. And even had him backing up sometimes because he started to get worried. But you're going to award him the fight. This is the same crap I'm talking about. This is going to come into play next week. Oh, I'm sorry, this week. When Canelo and Triple G face off. This is another instance of the boxer doesn't get any credit these days. This is a generation of people that don't know boxing at all. They don't know boxing. They don't know boxing. So whoever the brawler is, whoever is the tough guy who has a tough chin, heavy hands, and walks forward, that's the guy who's dominating the fight. I was just watching the first Canelo Triple G fight again. My opinion still hasn't changed. Triple G has an excellent jab. That's one thing I'll give him. And through the middle rounds, he was establishing his jab very well. He got away from it at times because he started headhunting, trying to swing for that home run with the right hand or the right hook. And he kept missing. Canelo was countering him. Now, counters are one thing. I will say that Canelo was inactive in spots in that fight. Annoyingly so. And that's Canelo. Canelo usually takes rounds off. Rounds 6 through 9, he tends to take his spots to take off. But overall, he was boxing the crap out of Triple G. And now it was definitely a close fight. I'm not one to sit here and say that Canelo just beat the crap out of Triple G. No, it was a close fight. It was a beautiful fight. Canelo made the fight closer than it had to be because he was too inactive. He wasn't turning Triple G enough, and he wasn't putting together longer combinations. He would stop, he would stagnate, and then he would start to pump a little bit of a jab, and he allowed Triple G to establish his. But still, he outboxed Triple G. This whole rhetoric that Triple G beat the crap out of him is ridiculous. That never happened in reality. The same thing's going to happen again. I already know. Canelo does not have the power to hurt Triple G. So in this rematch, I sincerely hope for his sake that he does not try. Because he's going to try to win over these stupid fans by swinging for the fences, and Triple G is not going to be phased, and he's going to be there to counter him. If I was Canelo, if I was his coach, I'm telling him, do the same thing you did in the first fight, turn the tempo up, increase the volume on those combinations, turn him more, jab to the body a little bit more, start going downstairs a little more. Same thing with the Andre Ward did when he fought Kovalev the second time. Kovalev is the dangerous fighter. Andre Ward knew that. So what did he do? He went downstairs. He started digging to the body. He established that early on. And he continued to move and turn upstairs. He knows Kovalev it's the same matchup. Kovalev's a taller guy. Andre Ward is a shorter guy. But he knows he can outbox him. So he turns him, boxes him, goes downstairs, and eventually it paid off. He's going to have to do that against Triple G. Don't focus on the knockout. If it comes, it comes. But focus on going downstairs, working on that to slow him down. You're not trying to knock him out. You're trying to stop his pressure to allow you to box. If he goes in there swinging for a home run, don't do what these fans are saying. The fans don't know boxing. All they know is tough man. Whoever's the strongest, whoever's the toughest can take the hardest punches and can overpower the other person. They're the better boxer. That's not boxing. That's tough man. That's wrestling. I don't care what the judges say or the fans say. I'm telling him do the same thing, turn the tempo up. And that's it. Whatever they want to say, let them say after the fight. Because if you sit there and you listen to these fools and play into them, you're going to get knocked out. So we'll see what happens this weekend. Anyway, till next time.
Now for a break.